There are many ways one is introduced to anime. Mine was through the Adult Swim anime block on Saturdays in 2002. But I bet for a lot of you out there, your first exposure to anime was through the Sci-Fi Channel. Oh dear Christ! Ah, God. It's like somebody punched me in the eyes. Whose bright idea was it to change the logo so it looks like a goddamn yogurt commercial? Before it was turned into the absolute joke that we have today, the Sci-Fi Channel was like nirvana for a whole generation of nerds. I mean, today the prospect of watching old reruns of Next Generation and syndicated episodes of X-Files doesn't sound like much, but back in the day, it was like having an entire channel dedicated to the sole reason why you didn't have any friends. And I didn't have the channel growing up. And because of that, I got to your standard nerd fodder way late in the game. In fact, I didn't see my first episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000 until I was like 15. It's a shame too, because I would have loved to see the anime they showed sporadically back in the 90s. Of course, they only had the license to show streamlined dubs in Central Park Media-owned shows, so the offering wasn't exactly the best. Yeah, they showed some classics like Project A-ko, Dominion Tank Police, and Robot Carnival, but they also showed stuff like Odin, one of the most boring anime I've ever sat through. Which is kind of rare to say about anime in general when you think about it. Of all the adjectives we use to describe bad anime, we don't usually use boring or dull. Even the most heinously bad pieces of schlock are at least stimulating in one way or another, if only by the virtue that animation itself is interesting to look at. Really, the only other anime that I'd call boring are Lucky Star and Witch Hunter Robin. Great company, right? In order for me to do justice to Odin, we had to set the right mood. Let's do this, bitch! We begin our tale with a nearly 3-minute course of exposition, explaining that this is the future, where man has begun to chart the recesses of space.
Spaceships are powered by laser, transmitted through their sails. Laser sailing ships.
Laser sailing ships. Sounds like the title of a Yes album. Yup, in this distant future, spaceships capable of intergalactic travel look like 18th century galleons. Because Harlock. There's a difference between having a visual aesthetic and just spitting in the face of science. It'd be like if they tried to build a spaceship out of a house. What? I didn't write it. And this whole establishing the setting over graceful images and atmospheric musing is alright and everything, but you know what this needs? An out-of-place English hair metal montage.
This is some baby.
I shit you not, I did nothing to that footage. Talk about pulling a complete 180. You go from a nice, albeit silly bit of beginning exposition, backed by calming mood music, to what sounds like Bill and Ted running around a mall looking for Socrates and Genghis Khan. People might have problems with the new Star Trek, but at least J.J. Abrams didn't do this. Actually, that's kind of awesome. Forget I said anything. You might be thinking that so far this movie has a lot of cheesy charm to it, but the charm starts to run on fumes by the third time the movie pipes in that same band, and it becomes outright annoying when they start repeating the same goddamn song. Never before had I thought the cheese of 80s hair metal could mold over so badly. Oh man, that was going into my poetry journal. So, this is our crew in training on board an experimental new ship on our maiden voyage past Jupiter. One would wonder why they would take inexperienced crewmen on board something so expensive and unproven, but there goes me and my logic again.
And so the Starlight is launched on her maiden voyage. Beautiful as a swan, she is the product of 20 years development by the United Nations Space Development Agency.
And And those 20 years are going to go right down the drain when some greenhorn asshole tries to install Galaga on the dashboard computer.
Her mission is scheduled to take her well beyond Jupiter, realizing a collective human dream that has existed for centuries.
God protect you, Ishige.
Thanks.
Does that guy have a psychic grandma? I mean, that's cool and everything, but sometimes you don't want your grandma in your head.
Did you remember to pack a lunch?
Yes, Grandma.
And don't forget to wash behind your ears.
Yes, Grandma.
And you should be sure to lock the door if you decide to spank into that filthy Venusian porn.
How did you know?
Psychic!
So, to recount, an old woman, who we never see again by the way, telepathically sends a farewell to what we can only assume is her grandson or son, and he responds back. Who is this guy? In fact, who are all of these guys? They're all wearing the exact same uniform, they all have indiscernible personalities, and they all have the exact same boring facial features. It's so bad that some scenes of dialogue look like one character is just talking to himself in a mirror. It's like if they made a movie entirely about red shirts. The flight seems to be going fairly well, that is, until the crew receives a distress call from a nearby ship.
Mayday! Mayday! This is Jupiter Transport Alfred. We're in a magnetic storm. All our computers are out. We're out of control. We're being dragged along by some tremendous force.
Wait. Maiden voyage? Distress call from a nearby ship being sucked in by a mysterious force?
Well then. I guess it's up to us.
You know what? Fuck it. Let's just drop all pretenses and see how many Star Trek references I can squeeze into this review. Gotta reach that quota! Duty bound to answer the distress call, the SS Fuck You Science springs into action and activates its warp drive. And get used to this sight, folks, because the film loves its hyperdrive scenes more than the room loves playing catch.
Ratio 1-5. Stand by. Switch on.
Okay, you all knew this one was coming. Not quite a Captain Sisko, but safely away from Captain Janeway. Very nice. Bitch would betray the Prime Directive for a peanut butter sandwich. But before they reach max speed, a pilot races on by and asks, no, demands, that he be let on board. Apparently, he's with the rest of the young crew, but wasn't selected as a part of the mission. Jeez, a cocksure pilot who pulls off dangerous stunts like this? I wonder why he wasn't chosen. Amazingly, the captain of the ship lets him on board. Because he has guts? So, the reason why he was left off the ship in the first place is the same reason he was let on board. You know, I'd be more inclined to talk about how stupid this whole scene is, but the Timber Toes this month is absolutely enthralling. They flew kites? God damn. In our first of many time-wasting scenes, the ship goes into hyperdrive, backed by that same metal band in a vain attempt to not bore the audience to tears. Seriously, the scene goes on for 5 minutes, and all they do is go into hyperdrive and then arrive at the scene of the SOS. The copy that I'm reviewing is a 90-minute edit of the original cut's 2-hour length. They edited out 30 minutes of this film, and they still have scenes like this? God, the original film must be like taking a Quaalude and Ambien cocktail. And between these long and drawn-out scenes are these little bits that I think are supposed to be character moments between the insubordinate asshole and the crew. One guy comes up to him, says he's a good pilot, and that he should be the helmsman after he steered the ship through hyperdrive. And all I can think is, who the hell is the asshole talking to? And why does he dress like a bro douche? Unpop that collar, you jackass! And that goes double for you, Captain. It looks like your head is about to take off from your shoulders any minute. Anyway, the ship finally comes into contact with the ruined ship that sent the SOS around the lunar orbit of Jupiter.
Ishige here. Hi, Grandma. We're now 6 Earth days into our voyage. We've made phenomenal progress and are approaching Jupiter at great speed.
Wait, it's been 6 days since you got that SOS, and you're only now just getting to the scene.
Hello? Airplanes? Yeah, it's blimps. You win. Bye. Oh, God.
Don't try to defend this by explaining that the distance to Jupiter is so great that 6 days is actually pretty quick. Yeah, getting to Jupiter in 6 days in comparison to space travel now is a downright miracle, but it's established that the ship is capable of going much faster than that.
Ship now traveling at 8% of light velocity.
Because the dub is so bad, I can't tell if the guy said 8% or 80%, but let's lowball this for the sake of argument. Light travels around 299,792,458 meters a second. This means this ship is traveling at around 24 million meters a second, or 24,000 kilometers. Depending on the orbit of the Earth and Jupiter, the distance between them can be between 630 to 930 million kilometers. Even if you factor in that the planets are not stationary objects, and that Jupiter moves at about 13 kilometers a second in relation to the Sun, the trip should not take 6 days. But all of this is proven moot because the ship decelerated before they reached Jupiter, and if you factor in the chronology of events that happened, they spent 6 days going at regular speed before they reached Jupiter. So they could go as fast as 8% the speed of light, but when lives are endangered, they set the speed to mosey. How far into this film am I? 18 minutes?! We'll be right back. So the ship manages to find a life pod among the wreckage with a single survivor on board and brings her unconscious body onto the ship. Gee, if only they could have gone faster, then they may have been able to find more survivors in the wreckage. But the ship becomes the target of something called Terminator probes, whatever the fuck they are, that they think caused the first ship to be destroyed, and they power down for fear of being found.
We always thought the Terminator was a natural astral phenomenon, but it isn't.
Wait, when you say Terminator, do you mean the divisional line that separates the side of a lunar object facing the sun and the side that doesn't? Or is this more bullshit science terms that you hope to sneak past the audience? Nice try, but your bullshit foo is no match against a 5th degree black belt and pedantic asshole foo. They come across an intact ship and they proceed to investigate. For some reason, the captain thinks that this is a sign from extraterrestrial life and that they have established first contact. But something goes terribly wrong and the entire ship is sucked into this vortex, I think, and are spat out somewhere else. Christ, talk about a plot that went 0 to 60 and nothing flat.
I estimate it'll take us 2 to 3 weeks to make the necessary repairs.
Repairs can be made, Kuromoto, but we've also lost 7 men.
Captain, I've checked our position again and there's no mistake. We overshot Jupiter and we're now entering orbit around Uranus.
But you must have made a mistake. Did it mean that we travel faster than light?
Oh, please. You traveled 1.9 billion kilometers in 30 seconds of film time. That's barely warp 211. Captain Picard traveled to the other edge of the M33 galaxy in the matter of seconds. Boom! Ultimate Star Trek reference, baby! Yeah!
Number one.
The girl they picked up from the wreckage, named Sarah, wakes up from her escape pod and directs them to the moon of Uranus, Oberon, saying that she feels something calling her towards it. What good fortune that she turns out right, and that they find a stored data file of an ancient map of the entire galaxy. I could go on about how fucking wrong they are when they date the map as being only 20,000 years old when it's more likely 10 million years old, but we're running long and we're only half an hour into this. I know I'm making the film more dynamic and interesting the more I bitch about it, but trust me, the real film is not nearly this engaging. They go on and on about how they figured that the alien race had somehow viewed Earth 20,000 years ago and impaired their own stories and myths, and that's why the Nordic people gave the same name as the alien planet to their god, Odin. And this is all delivered by some of the most dry and boring dialogue I've ever seen in anime. This is what Odin really is when you get past the bullshit science of the cheesy 80s atmosphere. As bad as Mad Bull 34 and Angel Cop are, at least they're interesting in that they're certified insane. Odin here, on the other hand, is taunting me with its dullness. It seems the crew is sharing my frustration with their superior officers having been ordered to return to Earth instead of pursuing the alien planet that the map points out. So, in the only interesting part of the movie, the crew, led by the insubordinate asshole, mutinies and takes over the ship, plotting a course right for the alien planet. After they fly through a 60s acid trip, the SS Fuck You Science comes under fire by mysterious ships. To the film's credit, these scenes are easily the best in the entire film. In fact, even if the fight sequences weren't well drawn or well directed, which they are, they'd still be the best parts of the movie because it's actually interesting! And the out-of-place metal music actually kind of works here. Odin, if you were more this instead of bore you to sleep trudge, then I wouldn't have to have this National Geographic here getting oddly turned on by native tits. Probably should have kept that to myself. The officers managed to escape being held captive in their own quarters in time to help direct the fight. Worst mutiny ever! They managed to repel most of the attackers and hit warp drive again, but the casualty list is staggering, with a lot of officers on that list.
Big man, mutineer. I'll throw you in the brig for this.
I deserve it.
Yeah, but if I hadn't made the skipper keep you on in the Starlight's crew, so I'm just as responsible as you are.
Why are you taking this so well? The guy started a mutiny that led to half your crew being killed and your ship nearly destroyed. Push him out of the airlock and wait until blood comes pouring out of his eyes! Some of the remaining crew bring aboard a damaged fighter that they procured conveniently off screen, where it's revealed that the pilot was actually a robot. Thinking that they might be in the presence of an advanced AI race, Sarah, popping back into the story again, tells them that the aliens that they've been looking for are not robots, and that she's one of them, she thinks. Earlier, she said she had amnesia, and that's why she thought she was human, but now she's not, and you know what? I'm just going to have to take her word for it, because fuck me if they're actually going to show her coming to this conclusion. And then they blast off again. What is this, the fourth time I've seen this exact same sequence? I can't even use the Star Trek motion picture joke. I already used it. Unless...
Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum.
Oh, thank you, Kevin Smith. After that completely unnecessary and gratuitous fight scene, we have a necessary, yet still gratuitous fight scene. It seems that the leader of the robot race has taken notice of the humans trying to find his planet, and has vowed to stop them from going any further, planning on taking down Earth in the process. The fight isn't going nearly as well as the first, as the robots are going straight kamikaze on them and tearing the ship apart. In a last-ditch effort, they blow up a nearby asteroid, using the debris to cover their fighters and infiltrating the main flagship. Wouldn't that just leave the main ship a sitting duck for all the remaining ships to fire on? Anyone? Am I the only one with a brain left alive? Great. The infiltration unit, which for some reason includes Sarah, make their way into the enemy stronghold and manage to take out one of its cores. However, in the ensuing firefight, they discovered that the robots aren't really robots at all, but are actually the Martian Manhunter? Marshy here tells them to play back some still images of Odin that he keeps inside himself, so he can look upon his planet one last time before he dies.
Lovely world, although I will not reach you again, I see you, my own Odin. Birds singing, clear skies, gentle wind across the land.
Happy little trees, fluffy clouds of titanium white. So, in his creepy pedo voice, Marshy continues explaining that Odin was destroyed long ago, But the queen of his people, in an effort to save and preserve the race, sent out her genes to far-off planets, and you know where this is going.
Who are you? What is your name?
My name is Sarah, surname Chan Baker on Earth.
Sarah. The Queen of Odin was also named Sarah.
God damn it! The face-palming continues as we find out that we have a Quarian Geth situation here, as the alien race once created a computer AI to help them survive, but it has since turned rogue and has enslaved them. Duty-bound to help an alien he just met, the insubordinate asshole leads one last charge into the main control station, but are stopped cold when their weapons have no effect. Luckily, the asshole has a daring plan. Distract the AI and the robots while yet another infiltration team finds the computer's self-destruct button. One would think that a sentient AI would have at least cut the power to that button. I mean, it can enslave an entire race, but commenting out the code to destroy itself? Couldn't be bothered.
That's the brain, up there at the top. But how do we enter the self-destruct command? Here, with this. My own invention. What is it? Something I amuse myself with when I was off watch. It's a pentadigital IC bomb. And each of the pins you see will explode inside him with a force that'll confuse him to the point of madness.
What?
Here, with this. My own invention. What is it? Something I amuse myself with when I was off watch.
The film just literally pulled a Tex Avery on us. One of the characters reached behind his back and literally pulled out some random object to solve a crisis. This character just has this device on him for no reason other than to magically MacGuffin his way to defeating the boss. He was working on this in his spare time? Really? This is the final insult as far as I'm concerned. We waded through a river of lukewarm wallpaper paste just so the plot could be resolved with a lazy, hand-waving cop-out? Fuck you! The AI blows up, happy endings for all, and fuck this film right in the ear. This is easily one of the worst films I've reviewed here on Anime Abandon. It's not wholesale offensive, there's no explicit gore, but goddamn if this film isn't the most boring, narratively insulting piece of shit I've seen. This is an outright offense on Star Blazers. God, I gotta get Odin out of my mouth. I gotta get it out of my system. I need something. I don't care. Come on, anything. Okay, let's see. Come on. No. 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 Hell no. Yes! Jackpot!